Hi, and welcome back. This is Tammy again. We're going to begin on lesson 21, Mad or Not. Everybody says, I must be mad. We're going to read the text and then answer this question. Why do people think the writer is mad? Aeroplanes are slowly driving me mad. I live near an airport and passing planes can be heard night and day. The airport was built years ago, but for some reason, it could not be used then. Last year, however, it came into use. Over 100 people must have been driven away from their homes by the noise. I am one of the few people left. Sometimes I think this house will be knocked down by a passing plane. I have been offered a large sum of money to go away, but I am determined to stay here. Everybody says I must be mad, and they are probably right. Let's answer the question. Why do people think the writer is mad? Well, it says he lives near an airport and passing planes can be heard night and day. Over 100 people must have been driven away from their homes by the noise. But he's one of the few people left. So, people think that the writer must be mad because he lives near an airport where there is a lot of noise and he has been offered a large sum of money to go away, but he wants to stay there. So everyone thinks he must be mad because he lives in a place that a lot of people don't want to live in because there's so much noise from the passing airplanes. And he was offered a large sum of money and he didn't take it. He must be mad. Let's go over some new words and expressions. Mad. Mad means when someone is mentally crazy. They've gone crazy. Reason. Reason means a cause or an explanation to something. So here it says, but for some reason it could not be used then. So this means for some explanation it couldn't be used. Some means the amount of money. So he was offered a large amount of money. Determined. Determined means when someone has a firm belief in something, when they firmly believe that they will do something and they do it. So he firmly believed that he would not go anywhere. He was going to stay there. Notes on the text. Aeroplanes are slowly driving me mad. Aeroplanes are slowly driving the writer to go crazy. Passing planes can be heard night and day. Brrr, 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 brrr. Night and day, he hears planes passing over his house. Came into use. Came into use means that it had come into being useful. It had come into being useful. Over 100 people must have been driven away from their homes by the noise. That doesn't mean over 100 people must have been driven away in a car from their homes. It means that they must have left. It must have made them so crazy that they could not stand to be there anymore. So they left their homes. Now let's answer some questions about what we've just read. Question number 1. Is the writer slowly going mad or not? It says here, aeroplanes are slowly driving me mad. The writer is slowly going mad. Where does he live? I live near an airport. He lives near an airport. What can be heard night and day? Passing planes can be heard night and day. Passing planes can be heard night and day. Have most of his neighbors left their homes or not? Over 100 people must have been driven away from their homes. So most of his neighbors have left their homes. Has he been offered money to leave or not? Remember, he said he was offered a large sum of money. What is he determined to do? He's determined to stay where he is. What does everyone say? Everyone says he must be going mad. He must be going crazy. Are they probably right or wrong? What do you think? I think, yes, I think he must be going mad. Key structures. Passing planes can be heard night and day. Let's read these sentences carefully. The first sentence in each pair tells us about a person. Who? The second tells us about a thing. What or which? He will repair your watch. Who will repair your watch? He will repair your watch. Your watch will be repaired. What will be repaired? Your watch. He can repair your watch. Who can repair your watch? He can repair your watch. Your watch can be repaired. What can be repaired? Your watch. They must test this new car. Who must test this new car? They must test. This new car must be tested. What must be tested? The new car. You have to write this letter again. Who has to write the letter again? You have to write it. This letter has to be written again. What has to be written? The letter has to be written. I told you he could do it. Who told you he could do it? I told you. I told you it could be done. What could be done? It. I told you he would do it. Who would do it? He would do it. I told you it would be done. What would be done? It would be done. I can't find my bag. Someone has stolen it. Who has stolen it? Someone. I can't find my bag. It has been stolen. What has been stolen? My bag. I can't find my bag. Someone must have stolen it. Who has stolen it? Someone must have stolen it. I can't find my bag. It must have been stolen. What have been stolen? Or what has been stolen? My bag. Instead of saying, the police will arrest the thieves, we can simply say, the thieves will be arrested by the police. You must pay me for this. We can also say, I must be paid for this. They cannot find him. He cannot be found. A. There are some verbs in the passage which are like the examples given above. Can you find them? Let's see. Aeroplanes are slowly driving me mad. I live near an airport and passing planes can be heard night and day. The airport was built years ago, but for some reason it could not be used then. So the airport was built years ago, but for some reason it could not be built then. I live near an airport. Who lives near an airport? I live near an airport. Aeroplanes are slowly driving me mad. What's driving me mad? Aeroplanes. The airport was built years ago, but for some reason it could not be used then. Last year, however, it came into use. What came into use? It came into use. Over 100 people must have been driven away from their homes by the noise. Who was driven away by the noise? Over 100 people. I am one of the few people left. Who's left? I am left. I think this house will be knocked down by a passing plane. What will be knocked down by a passing plane? This house. I have been offered a large sum of money to go away. Who has been offered a large sum of money to go away? I have been. But I am determined to stay here. Everybody says I must be mad, and they are probably right. Who says I am probably mad? Everybody says I am probably mad. B. Change the form of the phrases in italics. Let's change the forms. I live near an airport and I can hear passing planes night and day. And I can hear planes pass night and day. They built the airport years ago. The airport was built years ago. But for some reason, they could not use it then. But for some reason, it could not be used then. Last year, however, it came into use. The noise must have driven over 100 people away from their homes. Over 100 people must have been, over 100 people were driven away by the noise. I am one of the few people left. Sometimes I think a passing plane will knock down this house. Sometimes I think a plane passing will knock down this house. Sometimes I think this house will be knocked down by a passing plane. They have offered me a large sum of money to go away. I have been offered a large sum of money to go away. But I am determined to stay here. So I live near an airport and I can hear passing planes day and night. I live near an airport and passing planes can be heard night and day. Exercise C. We're going to change the form of these sentences. Your sentences must begin with the words in italics. I will send a message immediately. A message will be sent immediately. Number 2, we must sell all these goods. All these goods must be sold. Number 3, I told you he would receive the parcel in time. The parcel would be received in time. He has to deliver the letter by hand. The letter must be delivered by hand. They must have lost your letters in the post. Your letter must have been lost in the post. Words often confused and misused. Drive. This verb can be used in many ways. Airplanes are slowly driving me mad. He drives his car very badly. The farmer drove the cattle into the field. Our army drove the enemy back. During the war, many people were driven out of their homes. Home and house. After work, I always go home. I stay at home during the weekend. There is no place like home. They are building many new houses in our district. Houses are very expensive. I paid a lot of money for a new house. Exercise A. Write sentences using drive out, drive back, and drive into. Drive out. A lot of cattle was driven out of the fields. Drive back. I forgot my purse at home. I must drive back to get it. Drive into. There's an empty parking space. Drive into it. Section B. Supply house or houses or home in the following. It was raining heavily and I was glad to get home. The government plans to build thousands of houses next year. He is very rich. He owns a house in the country, or he owns a home in the country. He owns a house in the country. Most people like to spend their Christmas holidays at home. Comprehension. The airport has just come into use. The writer has refused to leave his house. Passing planes can be heard night and day. You can hear them all the time. It couldn't be used then. It wasn't possible to use it. Over 100 people must have been driven away. I'm sure they were. I am one of the few people left, so there are none left. How much have you been offered? A large sum of money. I have been offered some money. They want to give me some money. I have been offered a large amount of money. I am determined to stay here. I want to stay here. Everyone says I must be mad, and they are probably right. Of course they are. Or perhaps they are. Everyone says I must be mad, and that is probably correct. Let's rewrite this sentence. They built the airport years ago, but for some reason they couldn't use it then. The airport was built years ago, but for some reason it could not be used then. The airport was built years ago, but for some reason it could not be used then. The airport was built years ago, but for some reason it could not be used then. The airport was built years ago, but for some reason it could not be used then. When we begin our next lesson, we're going to start in lesson 22, a glass envelope. 10 months later, she received a letter.